Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be putting together my TBR for the month of May. As usual, I will be using my TBR Machine website that I made that spits out random reading prompts to pick the books that I'm reading. And I will also be trying to make a realistic reading plan where I pick one physical book and one audiobook for each week of the month. So in May, we've got 4 physical book slots and 4 audiobook slots. I will admit, I have a stack of 4 books here that I would really like to try and read, books that I've bought recently or continuations of series, so I'm going to be trying to hack the prompts to fit those in. But I do think in previous months, I've pretty much filled all my slots with books that I wanted to read, whereas this one, I actually have, I think, at least a few spots where we're just going to see where the prompts lead us. So, the unknowns are kind of exciting. So, let's pick the first prompt. I can't read a book written for children, which honestly would probably be something I could just fit around my realistic reading plans. But also, do I even have anything that would fit that prompt on any of my TBRs? Let me have a look. Okay, it's easy. I have a hold on the graphic novel adaptation of Mallory and the Trouble with Twins, which is I think it's actually the 21st Babysitter's Club book, but the graphic novel adaptations looks like it's number 17. There's another one here. I better jump on the hold list while I'm here. Anyway, the Babysitter's Club books were my favorites when I was a kid, so I've been enjoying these graphic novel adaptations, but mainly just for nostalgia. Obviously, they're children's books. There's not too much to them. This one, I think Mallory is just babysitting these twins who keep like mucking around and being little shits and like swapping each other and causing trouble. And I think she helps them convince their parents that they should be allowed to have their own identities rather than constantly being forced to be the same as each other. Anyway, let's pick some actual books to read because that's just a fun side thing. So the next prompt is read a book that has won or been nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I don't think any of the books on the stack will fit because these are both new releases and these are both like fairly underhyped books. What else? The real problem I have at this point is that if these are going to fill my physical book slots, then ideally I should pick an audiobook, but also a lot of the books I want to read are not audiobooks. Okay, I found one. So the one audiobook that I did want to fit in this month is Age of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. So this is the second book in the Legends of the First Empire series. I read the first book in April and I was hoping to continue it this month, and I decided, just because I have so many physical books that I also want to read this month, that I would try reading it via audiobook. I did read the earlier series, the Ryrie of Revelations, which is kind of like a connected series. I read that via audiobook, and I thought with this series I would try physical, just because I felt like in the first series I missed out on some details. But for Age of Myth, the first book in this other series, I felt like I could have listened to it on audiobook and not missed anything. So I think just because I have so many physical books that I need to fit in this year, like I had a look at how many books I still want to read this year, and most of them I want to read physically, and I'm just not going to have enough time. So if I can move things to audiobook, then that will help, especially this series because it's a 6-book series. So I'm going to try this on audiobook. Basically the setup is that there are these elves, or they're called the Frey in this series, and the humans think that they're gods, but then right at the beginning of the series, a human kills one of these elves and is like, oh, they're not gods, they can die. And that kind of builds this bigger conflict. But also there is some conflict between the different like tribes of elves that is maybe a bigger driver of what's going on. So I'm not exactly sure what the focus of the second book is going to be, but I did enjoy the first one, so I'm looking forward to continuing the series. Oh, and I should say, this was nominated for the 2017 Goodreads Choice Awards. So, fits the prompt. Okay, so then the next prompt is read an anthology. I have a couple of anthologies floating around. One is The Far Reaches, which I did recently put on my Reddit bingo board, so I could read that. I think maybe the only other one on my TBR that would fulfill this prompt is Out There by Kate Folk. To be honest, I think I'm more excited about The Far Reaches. It's got a bunch of authors that I've really loved before, having written different stories. What is the focus of this anthology? Stories to take you out of this world. These stories explore the galaxy and the horizons of humanity's potential. Sounds like fun. Let's put that onto the TBR. I guess we'll put Age of Swords in the first week and the Far Reaches in the second week. And then let's pick another prompt. Read a book written by an author who is older than you. When I wrote this prompt, I didn't really understand how hard that can sometimes be to research. Let's see. Okay, apparently Nydia Okorafor is 51, so that's older than me, so that's what we're going to go with. I have Death of the Author by Nydia Okorafor. I believe it's a story about this disabled woman whose career isn't really going anywhere and her family's wanting her to do things that maybe she doesn't want to do in terms of like, you know, typical life path. And then she starts writing this science fiction story that kind of takes her life in a different direction. I've heard mixed reviews about it actually, but since I have the physical copy and I quite like this edition, like it has some really beautiful elements to it. So that can go on the TBR in the first week. Okay, then the next prompt must be the fifth prompt. Read a book by a New Zealand author, which should be exciting, except I don't know that I have any. Oh, no, I do. Like a lot of the books that I want to read by New Zealand authors, I don't even think, what if, no. I was going to say, what if I read, this is a New Zealand author, but I bought this. And I think it's dumb to buy the physical book and then listen to the audiobook, so we're not going to do that. What I am going to do is, a New Zealand author I really love is J.P. Pomare. He writes like thrillers, and I did see he has a bunch of thrillers available on the Audible Plus library, and I'm only a couple of months away from having to decide if I cut Audible or whether I keep it going. So anything I do want to read on the Plus library, I should read now. I actually might even try and read a few of these because I do think they were all quite short. But let's put officially on the TBR, Don't Look Back, which is only from last year. It's only a 5-hour audiobook, so that'll be quick. It's about a character who lives on a mountain farm, hunting and foraging, barely leaving her mountain. But when she comes into town one day, she notices a toddler choking, and she saves them and then just slips away. And then somehow that kind of ends up with people paying attention to her, and maybe she's got a bunch of secrets? Okay, I'm slightly concerned I haven't fit any of these in yet, but let's pick another prompt and cross our fingers. We have read a science fiction book. We can do this. So which one of these should I go with? I guess I should go with this because this is completing a series, whereas this is starting a new series. So The Martian Contingency, actually kind of timely because this is the latest book in the Lady Astronaut series, but like actual astronauts, not just passengers. So this is set in an alternate history where in like the 50s, a meteor hit the Earth and basically set things underway so that the Earth is going to become uninhabitable. And as a result, they've kind of like escalated the space program. And we're following a bunch of women really who are very qualified and should be involved in order to keep things moving, but have to struggle with like sexism and racism, and also there's a bunch of people just sabotaging the space program for different reasons, and like a bunch of politics going on. I love the themes in this series. I have way over here the first 3 books in the series. I really enjoyed them. This one I believe is an expedition to Mars. But again, I think there's sabotage involved. It's been a while since the 3rd book in this series was released, so I'm really excited that we finally got the 4th book. So that will go in the 2nd week. Then the next prompt will be read a book with purple on the cover. I mean, if you look really closely in here, there's some purple. Am I going to count it? How naughty do I feel today? You know what? I'm going to count it. So this is The Outside by Ada Hoffman. This is a story set in this world where the gods of the world are AI. So basically when humans die, they will be eaten, absorbed by these different AI gods. So it's in the best interest for humans to learn and do as much as possible so that then that can be absorbed by these AI gods, right? But also they don't want the humans to do certain things because they don't want to lose control of them. And our main character is involved in this science experiment that seems like it's going to really maybe even mess up reality and definitely not going to be something that the AI gods are involved in. So I read the first chapter of this ages ago, and it just has this little introduction at the beginning, which honestly, I could just read it over and over again. I love it. It's such a different way of looking at reality. I love books that stretch reality, so I'm really hoping to enjoy this one. I think we're going to put it on the TBR in the last week, just because if I can fit this one in, it's better to finish series before I start new ones. That's what I decided last month. Okay, we've only got 2 slots left. One of them really needs to be this. So the next prompt is going to be read a fantasy book. Now this one is a fantasy book, but it's more like an alternate history where there is magic. So this is the second book in the series. It's just a duology, and it's kind of a retelling of the French Revolution, except that people in this world have magic, and not just like secret societies. Like, it's a well-known thing that people have magic. In the first book, there was quite a focus on allowing the commoners to use their magic, as well as abolishing slavery, which the slavery was kind of run through magic. The second one, I believe, is going to have Napoleon as a young battle mage, and it says here a blood magician is using the Revolutionary Wars to bring about a return to dark magic. Basically, it's kind of like an illegal vampire. Anyway, this is written very historical fiction-y, which I didn't necessarily love for the first book, but I did find the ideas really interesting. Also, if it's like the first book, I expect it to be very focused on the relationships between the different characters, which I found quite endearing as well. So I'm hoping I'll like this. To be honest, the first book in the duology I thought was going to be a 5-star, and it turned out to be only a 3-star, but the ideas were still really interesting, and I actually learned a lot about the French Revolution. So education. It's good for you. So that will put in the 3rd week, and now we only have 1 more book to pick, and I have no idea what we're going to pick, which is, I don't know, I kind of like I'm a hardcore planner. I love plans, which is why I make TBRs, but I also like to have some element of surprise, but not at the last minute, but maybe a surprise in the planning. I don't know. Anyway, the last prompt is going to be read a book that you think suits the current season. So in New Zealand, it's just coming into autumn, but to be honest, like, seasonal reading is always kind of messed up for me because so many readers that I talk to are people internationally. So like, of course, autumn, you think of Halloween, but autumn in New Zealand is never Halloween. I don't know, let me look at my TBR and see if anything gives me that feeling. Oh, and it has to be an audiobook. That makes it harder. Okay, I think what we're going to go with is Once Was Willem by Emma Carey. So I've been really loving Emma Carey lately, so I may as well continue that kind of theme. And I have listened to a lot of his things by audiobook, so I think I could like this by audiobook. It's a new release. It's a horror kind of story. I think like a horror fantasy where a wizard brings this guy back from the dead, and then maybe things don't go to plan. Whose plan? I don't really know. I have heard good things about it. And I think that something about the cover, something about just the horror vibes in general probably fits autumn, I guess. Anyway, we're going to put that in the 4th week. So that means this will be the TBR for the month. I think I'm pretty happy with it. I think some of these books are going to be ones I really love. Let me know if you've read any of these books, whether you think I'm going to like them, and also let me know what your reading plans are for May. Let's chat down in the comments. Do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.